I'm going to be interviewing the lovely LEIGH BARDUGO. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm LEIGH BARDUGO. I wrote Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, Ruin and Rising, a bunch of short stories, and most recently, Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, Six of Crows duology.
Yay. We are going to get right into the first question.
Okay.
If you could write in anyone else's fictional world, whose would it be?
Oh my gosh. Wow, that is a really hard question. Like, as in, like, and then publish it? Like, I would feel so dirty. I would feel like I was, like, cheating on my books. Okay, I'm gonna say I would love to write in Daniel Jose Older's world. He wrote a book called Shadow Shaper. It was one of the New York Times best books of the year last year, and it has a sequel coming out soon that is, I think, like, even better than the first one. But he writes this, like, magical Brooklyn, and I really love the sense of a city within a city, right? Like, there's the city and then there's all these secrets beneath it. It's kind of like what Cassie does in City of Bones.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of, like, Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman.
Yes, exactly. That's one of my very favorite worlds too. So I love any time that, and I love and also actually, like, the Weetsy Bat stories by Francesca Leah Block. Like, anytime an ordinary city becomes magical.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've seen Stranger Things, correct?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so who do you think would win in a fight versus Nina versus 11?
Oh gosh, they would never fight. They would never fight. 11, she would clutch her to her and save her.
I feel like Nina, I feel like 11
11
would join the squad and I feel like Nina would treat her as like a daughter.
Yeah, I feel like 11 would disapprove of a lot of the things that the squad does.
Yeah.
But I feel like Nina would take care of her.
Yeah.
And buy her waffles.
Yeah.
So many waffles. Yeah, the idea of them fighting actually, like, breaks my heart because I love them both so much. So no, I refuse.
I just wanted to know, is there any possibility of any novellas in the future?
I don't think novellas. I mean, never say never, right? Like, I have a few things in mind that I could write as novellas or as additional scenes or bonus content. I actually did cut a few things and change a few things when I was writing Crooked Kingdom. I do think I will continue to write in the Grisha world. I just don't know. I don't know when those books are going to happen.
Mm-hmm. It was funny because on our way over here, Kaden was hungry, so she stopped at Chipotle. And as I walk in, she was taking pictures of me, and she made me post it and say, "Deleted scene."
You know that Nina would be like, extra guacamole.
Yes. I wanted to stop. We didn't have time, but I wanted to stop at the store and get, like, desserts to hand out
Oh,
to Kay.
I love that.
And she's
so
sweet hoarded dragon.
Yeah, but you would never give them away.
Yeah.
Like, get your own damn kid.
Yeah. What is your decompression ritual after getting a book published and after a book
Oh my god, I love this question. Okay, so when I turn in a draft, I always go to the Korean spa. It's the best. I live very near Koreatown in LA, and you go to the spa, walk around naked, like, go in the hot pools, go in the cold pools, and then they, like, scrub you and massage you. And I have a huge Korean feast with one of my friends. And then I always treat myself to some jewelry from Goldbug. It's the store in Pasadena. It's one of my favorite stores. Actually, half the jewelry I'm wearing is from there. So that's, like, my little ritual. And sometimes I also, like, if I really need encouragement to finish something, I will go to there's this jewelry company, I really like jewelry, called Blood Milk, and I will go to their website and put a bunch of things in my cart, but I don't let myself buy
until you're done.
Exactly. I'm very materialistic. That's what you need to know.
Nails are so pretty.
Thank you so much.
What is the amount of time that it takes you to jump into the next book? Do you give yourself a set amount of time?
I mean,
just dive right back in.
The funny thing is, like, you're usually, if you're lucky enough to be publishing continuously, you're usually revising one book while you're starting to draft another. Like, it's not as if you sort of finish and then have, like, a huge bit of time off. And this year, with Crooked Kingdom, as soon as I finished a revision, I was starting Wonder Woman. And as soon as I went to copy edits, I was, it was back to back to back. I always need, like, a little bit of time to sort of shift over to the world.
Yeah.
But the big transition for me is always the difference between, like, revising mind and drafting mind, because I think revising mind is very critical and detail oriented, and I think drafting mind, like, do you write?
Yeah.
So drafting mine, you've got to shut down those voices, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you just have to be kind of fearless and commit to the fact that this is the first draft, and you're going to come back and fix it, and you know it can be anything, it can have any shape, and that for me is quite a challenge, like to transition between those.
Yeah. What were your inspirations for the characters' names, the place names like Ketterdam?
Well, Ketterdam is heavily inspired by Amsterdam, and so whenever I do that, it's not because I'm lazy, it's because I want to trigger the reader to think of that city. Ketterdam was inspired, and Kerch, the country that it's the capital of, was heavily inspired by the Dutch Republic of the 1700s, and it was this trading superpower, and also the home of the first stock exchange. I want to evoke those things because when I talk about Ketterdam and Kerch, I'm really talking a lot about profit and about the markets and about economies and the way that people get treated within those economies. So so that's where like some of it comes from. When I write that first draft, the zero draft, I often leave things blank. Like I don't do it blank, I do 3 question marks so I can come back and find them. If it's a main character, I have to have the character's name before I can write the character. But if it's like somebody who's gonna die 2 pages later, then I don't worry about it. I don't want to stop my momentum.
If your characters lived in this world, what do you think their favorite band or songs would be?
Oh God, that's so hard for me. I don't know any
music.
music.
You could pick like 2 characters. You don't have to do them all, because that would be a long time.
All right, then I'm gonna bless you. All right, I'm gonna say that Kaz. Well, Kaz has always had the song "Sinister Kid" by the Black Keys. Is like the song I would listen to whenever I was getting into Kaz mode. But I also know, like, I frequently get tagged by people being like, 21 Pilots, Heathens is the song of the crew, so maybe he would be into that, I don't know. I like to think that, like, Wylan would really be into, like, LCD Sound System or Hot Chip, because I listen to a lot of him for his chapters, but I don't know, this is hard for me. Nina would love Stevie Nicks because I love Stevie Nicks.
So how do you go about the editing process?
I mean, there's sort of 2 big phases for the editing process. There's the editing I do on my own, which is when I'm really building the draft longer. I'm not really revising it. I'm pushing all of the story in and shifting it around and getting it into something that's manageable. And I turn that first draft over to my editor. And on all 5 of the books I've written in the Grishaverse, my editor was this woman, Noah Wheeler. And then she writes me a letter, basically. She writes me a letter, a long letter, a single-spaced letter, that basically says in broad strokes like what she thinks is missing, or you know where she's confused, and then we talk about it on the phone. And my response to getting that letter is usually like, it's like my first response is basically like, what do you mean? You don't understand my genius. And then like an hour later I'm like, oh no, she's right. And then there's like a break where my mind starts working, and then I'm like, okay, I know how to address this, I know how to handle this. But honestly, I feel like my books tend to get longer on revision. They don't get shorter. It's pretty rare that I've been lucky. I've never been asked to cut a lot. And I think they get just, I think for me it's like a question of refining. Like I write on my laptop until I start to print it out, then I write longhand, then I put those notes in, and then I eventually get to a stage where I'm reading aloud, and I catch so much reading aloud. So if you're a writer, I highly recommend reading your drafts aloud.
Okay. Yeah, I find when I edit, it's better for me to read aloud.
Yeah.
So you're actually hearing it.
My neighbors can hear me, and I know they can hear me, and they think I'm a big weirdo, but it's okay.
Yeah, I do when I'm all alone.
Yeah. I don't like to have anybody else there.
Yeah.
Because I like to do the voices and stuff, so yeah.
Okay, is it possible for you to pick a favorite out of the 6?
No.
Okay,
I like them all.
They're like your babies.
I don't know. I don't really like babies. But I really like, they're like my pets. I don't know, like, I think you can't write a character convincingly if you somehow love them less than the others.
That makes sense.
I think some of them were harder to get to know. I think Kaz is the biggest pain in the ass. Like, he's easily the hardest character to write because he's the smartest character.
Yes. What is the easiest and most difficult part about writing a series in a world that you previously created stories in?
The hardest part, I think, is getting people up to speed on what happened previously in the Grisha trilogy, and sort of setting that baseline for where you're going from there. In the duology, I introduced this drug, Jordaparam, and it is not as powerful, like it's not as meaningful to the reader if they don't know what the baseline for Grisha power is. And so that's what the entire opening chapter of Six of Crows is about.
That is like one of the most amazing opening chapters.
Thank you. Some people hate it. Like some people like
and I literally, okay, what we do every time I spend the night at our house, we play it to go to sleep.
Aww.
And like we've read this book so many times.
So much. I love it.
That's what we bond over all the time.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, to me, it was a way of, for me, I feel like that opening is very cinematic. Like I can see that being the opening scene in the television show, right?
Yeah.
So, but for me, that was a way of creating a baseline for those powers. And I think that's the most challenging thing. And also knowing what to reveal. Like there was actually a lot more about, like, that did get cut from Six of Crows now that I remember it, that were, you know, pieces of Nina's backstory that sort of talked a lot more about the Ravkan Civil War, and that we just felt like actually cluttered things up eventually. But that's what first drafts are for, you know?
Yeah.
I think the easiest or best part is, I think, returning to characters. When you get to write characters you've written before, it really feels like it's one of those friends who, like, maybe you haven't seen them in years, but you pick up right away, you know? Yeah.
And then last but not least, can you give us any hints about future projects?
No. I have Wonder Woman coming out in 2017. And I have some other things cooking, and I can't really say more than that. It's one of the most frustrating things about the publishing industry, but I really hope we're going to talk about it soon because I'm so excited to talk about this stuff. So, yeah. Okay. What's the outcry? What's wrong? Oh, okay. Sorry. Worried face. Worried. Okay. Anything else? You're going to be like, just take the outtakes.
So thank you so much, Leigh, for being here on my channel today. If you guys want to check out Crooked Kingdoms is Six of Crows, since you've probably seen from any of Kaden and I's videos that we talk about it constantly, I will link them down below, and please read it so then we can talk and fangirl together. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!
Hello.